Hello everyone. On this video we will cover how to divide a polynomial by a monomial. Okay, so to do that you want to go back to the basic idea behind fractions with like denominators. So if you have a over c plus b over c, if your denominators are the same, your answer is just over that c, and you add your numerator. Or it's the same thing with subtraction. Let's clean that up a little. There we go. So if you have a over b minus b over c, a over c, sorry about that. As long as your denominators are the same, you just subtract your numerators. Okay. Thing is, it also works the other way around. So if you have a minus b over that denominator, you could have it as a over c minus b over c. You can just split that denominator between both terms up top. And same thing with addition. A plus b over c is equal to a over c plus b over c. Okay. Now dividing a polynomial by a monomial, this, or these two rather, is what we'll be using. Alright, so let's get started on our first example. Okay, so let's say, for example, you want to find the quotient . Alright, so you have 49 times q to the fourth power minus 14 q to the third power all over negative 7q. Alright, so first thing we have to do is separate the fraction and simplify each term. Okay, so that means that our 49q to the fourth power minus 14q to the third power all over negative 7q, that just becomes 49q to the fourth power over negative 7q minus 14q to the third power over negative 7q. Okay, so all we did was separate the numerator by giving each term the same denominator. Okay, so now we just simplify each term. Okay, so first we simplify the numerical values. So 49 divided by negative 7, positive divided by negative is negative. 49 divided by 7 is 7. And q to the fourth power divided by q to the first power is q to the 4 minus 1 power, if you remember your quotient rule from exponents, minus 14 divided by negative 7 is negative 2. And q to the third divided by q to the first is q to the 3 minus 1 power. So simplifying that will give us negative 7q to the third power plus, because you have your minus negative, that becomes plus, q to the second power. well, 2q to the second power. And remember, you can't combine these two when you're adding or subtracting unless the exponent and the variable are exactly the same. So you can't combine those, so this is your final answer here. All right, so let's go ahead to our next example. All right, so let's say, for example, what if we want to find the quotient okay, but in this case, you have 12n to the 6th power minus 30n to the 5th power plus 168 times n to the 4th power. And that whole thing is divided by 6n to the 3rd power. Okay. Now with this one, it's the exact same thing. It's just written a little bit different. Okay. So before we can do anything, we have to rewrite it as a fraction. Okay, so that means our 12n to the 6th minus 30n to the 5th plus 168n to the 4th divided by 6n to the 3rd becomes, remember, this part becomes our numerator and that becomes our denominator. So that's 12n to the 6th minus 30n to the 5th plus 168n to the 4th divided by 6n to the 3rd. Okay, so it looks just like our first example. Now, once you rewrite it as a fraction, then you do the same thing you did on the previous example, which is separate the fraction and simplify each term. Alright, so this will now become 12n to the 6th over 6n to the 3rd minus 30n to the 5th power over 6n to the 3rd plus 168n to the 4th over 6n to the 3rd. Okay, so each term in the numerator just has the same denominator, but you're separating it. The signs, notice, stays exactly the same. Okay, so now we go ahead and simplify each term. Numerical value 12 divided by 6 is 2. N to the 6th power divided by n to the 3rd power is n to the 6 minus 3. Remember, you just get the exponent of your numerator and subtract the exponent of your denominator, keeping the same base. Okay, so minus 30 divided by 6 is 5. N to the 5th power divided by n to the 3rd power is n to the 5 minus 3. Okay, 168 divided by 6 is 28. So that's plus 28. N to the 4th power over n to the 3rd power is n to the 4 minus 3. And again, if you want to go right from this to the answer, you could. This is just kind of a step-by-step showing you how to get from one to the other. So if we go ahead and simplify that, we have 2n to the 3rd power minus 5n squared plus 28n. Like I said, if you want to go right from here to here because you already did all this subtraction in your head, you're more than welcome to do that. This is just so no one would have to try and figure out how I got from here to here. Alright, so let's go ahead and do one more example. Okay, so let's say, for example, you want to find the quotient. Okay, so we have negative 120 times d to the fourth power plus 72 times d squared plus 104 times d divided by negative 8d. Alright, so what I want you to do is go ahead and press pause, and I want you to try and solve this one on your own. Alright, so assuming that you've already pressed pause and worked this one out, let's go ahead and verify your answer. Okay, just like the previous example, first thing you want to do is rewrite your fraction, or rewrite it as a fraction. Okay, so we have negative 120 d to the fourth plus 72 d squared plus 104 d divided by negative 8d. Now you separate and simplify each term. Alright, so just like we did before, you have negative 120 d to the fourth over negative 8d plus 72 d squared divided by negative 8d plus 104d divided by negative 8d. Okay, so simplifying each term, we have negative 120 divided by negative 8. Negative divided by negative is positive, so we'll have a positive number here. But 120 divided by 8 is 15. And d to the fourth divided by d to the 4 minus 1, since d is just d to the first power. Okay, so plus, you have 72 divided by negative 8. Positive divided by negative is negative. So instead of putting the plus, we're going to make that a minus for that negative. 72 divided by 8 is 9. D squared divided by d to the first is d to the 2 minus 1. And 104 divided by negative 8 is negative 13. So we make that negative 13. And d to the first divided by d to the first is d to the 1 minus 1. Alright, so just to simplify that, you have 15 d to the third power minus 9d minus 13, since d to the 0 power is equal to 1. So technically you have 13 times 1, which is just 13. Okay, and that is your final answer there. Okay, so hopefully this made sense, and I will see you on the next video.